Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Thanks for joining us here today. The Vols played their guts out. They pushed Alabama. They had fans and VFLs cheering the effort, cheering the future. The Vols lost 52-24. We'll try to reconcile all of that because I think it's all true. We'll reconcile all of that in today's show over the next 90 minutes. Let's get into it. This first segment of our program is brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. Folks, no one wants to need an attorney. When you do need an attorney, it means something's typically wrong and it's a stressful time for you. Get some peace of mind. Call an East Tennessean. Call Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm. They'll know exactly how to help you. The Garza Law Firm and GarzaLaw.com are where you need to turn. If you need an attorney in East Tennessee, that's where you go. Garza Law Firm. All right, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists. And again, we have me and 8 analysts today, so a lot of money I'm giving you guys. You better bring it. Will Overstreet, former Vol, VFL. If I don't say VFL, I'll get emails. Will Overstreet with us. Jimmy Himes right there from WNML. Beside him, Josh Ward from WNML, the Sports Animal 99.1 or 99.1 the Sports Animal. I know I need to tattoo that on my hand so I say it the right way. And then right down there, VFL Marlon Wall's back with us. Marlon, thanks for being here, bud.
Man, I appreciate it.
Okay, as I said, 52-24 loss to Alabama. Was that another moral victory? And look, there's a group out there that says no such thing as moral victories. They don't take into account, reality. It's we don't care what your roster is, next man up. We don't care if a bunch of guys left, too bad. Recruit new ones. But for those of us that live here in reality, who do live in the gray and realize, okay, sometimes a win can feel like a moral loss, and sometimes a loss can feel like a moral victory. Was that another moral victory? We thought there was a moral victory at Florida. Was that a moral victory last night? Josh Ward, I'll start with you.
Well, one of my policies is you have to cover to be eligible for a moral victory, so I think they're ineligible. But there are plenty of positives to take out of that game. The fact that in the second half, there's at least a question of, hey, what's going to happen here? And Tennessee fans have a reason to keep watching because too many times in the last 15 years now, I think Tennessee fans have gotten to halftime and said, what's the point of continuing on to the third and fourth quarters? And that wasn't the case last night. So there are positives considering all the questions going into the week and knowing how big of an underdog Tennessee is and the clear advantages Alabama has versus Tennessee to find positives. Moral victory, I would say no.
All right, Marlon?
I think for the players, it's not a moral victory. It should suck. You should be upset. At the end, in the way we fell apart at the end, there shouldn't be a moral victory as a player. As a fan, yes, it's an absolute moral victory because we was not expected to be in this point. I mean, last week we're talking about should we even continue the rivalry. So as a fan standpoint, yes, that's a huge moral victory. As a player, it sucks. It's a loss. You should be upset about it.
I think at about 6:59 last night, if you told Vol fans you're going to be in a shootout tonight going into the fourth quarter, most of them would have taken it. Is that a moral victory, Will Overstreet?
I think it has to be. I think you have to take what you can get. And at this point, if you're looking at that at halftime, 21-14 in this game, you're pushing. You've already taken the lead once. I have to say, based on what they were able to do, you said, hey, this coaching staff put them to the test. This players put them to the test. Alabama didn't go away thinking, hey, we're going to be running practice plays. I think this was definitely a moral victory of showing you can play probably the #1 team at the end of the year to the line. And basically you ran out of players, you ran out of depth at the end of that game. And so, yeah, they're going to run the points up on you then. But overall, this team showed they could be on the field. And if you have a few more players, are you in that game and do you win that game?
I noticed a lot of media members, regional and national, last night saying, crediting the Vols for being a little bit more competitive than I think anybody anticipated. It seems like people are starting to notice after the Ole Miss game, after this, that, wow, they're actually doing some things here. Jimmy, was that a moral victory or no?
I don't believe in moral victory, so I'm going to say no. However, I think you can point to a game and say Did you see encouraging signs? Did you see the offense or defense do some good things? Did you see a team that was down by a touchdown in the fourth quarter against a team that you didn't think you'd be able to beat? So I thought there were a lot of good signs. And then it gets down to defining a moral victory. So
I started to say, that sounds an awful lot like a moral victory.
But see, I don't believe in them. You know,
Right.
I can point to a lot of negative things too.
Yeah.
So I just don't believe in it. Look, you're Tennessee, you got beat. You got beat by a pretty substantial score. So I think you can have positive things and say you're going in the right direction without it being a moral victory, because I don't believe in it.
All right, let me make this a even tougher question for everybody here. Let's put up Alabama's offensive numbers from last night. 52 points, 33 first downs, 15 of 20 on third down, 7 of 7 in the red zone, 371 passing yards, 203 rushing yards, 574 total yards, 40 minutes time of possession. Can anyone look at that with a straight face and give some credit to the defense?
I say this, if you look at the points that Bama's put up in the last couple of weeks, and then also the amount of yards they've gained against some very quality opponents, we knew that Alabama was going to put up points. Given where our defense is, the depth, like Will just talked about. So, yeah, those numbers are eye-popping, but at the same time, they've been doing this for the last couple of weeks to some really good opponents.
I think you look at it this way. The defense gave you the best chance in what they were able to do, which is you made Alabama go the hard way. You made them get 33 first downs and not just throw deep ball, score, touchdown again.
Bryce Young looked frustrated at times.
Exactly.
Just like Matt Corral did last week a couple of times.
Exactly. I mean, everybody points to him as, oh, he hadn't had to run that much. Well, he had to run because he couldn't find somebody open. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you take that and you look at that and go, obviously when you're that much on the field, you're going to eventually get run. And they got run in the fourth quarter. But if you look at what the first 3 quarters they did, they played Alabama as well as anybody's played them on defense this year.
Guys, here's the thing. We went into this season talking about this defense is going to be laid bare by this offense. They're going to wear down. They're going to get gassed. You saw it last night in the fourth quarter. You saw it in the fourth quarter against Florida. I haven't seen it a lot of other times this year. That was one of the few times I saw it. I'm going to give them credit for the way they played last night, even with those numbers, personally. Jimmy, Mr. Negative.
Look, it was a moral victory for the defense. I'm having trouble giving them too much credit because of 15 of 20 on third down. Why did Alabama stay on the field for 40 minutes? Because your defense couldn't get off the field. Why did they have 92 plays? Because your defense couldn't get off the field. The funny thing about it was on first down, Tennessee's defense was really good. There were at least 21 plays where Alabama gained 3 yards or fewer on first down. But the bottom line is, if you can't stop somebody on third down, I'm having trouble giving you a whole lot of credit.
And that's where I say you needed the other player or two, because what you're missing is the dominant pass rusher or two that can actually get you off the field in that third down. Yeah. And that's what you're missing on this team right now. You got great inside, outside, you don't have that guy, right? And that's what you need in this kind of league, in a passing league. You got to have somebody that one-on-one with the offensive tackle, he's going to win more times than not.
Well, a lot of times, how many third downs did Bryce Young convert yesterday with his legs? Same thing we've seen a couple times this year, and we'll talk about it again later. But he converted several of those third downs with his legs when you're dropping 8, because you don't have a dominant pass rusher to get to him. He's got 15 minutes to sit there and say, oh, look, there's a spot for me to weave for the next 15 yards, and he picks it up. Josh, your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, Bryce Young has not been a big runner. He obviously has the running ability. He's mobile. He's not big. I'm sure they want him to protect himself, but I'm guessing they told him, hey, if you don't see it, you'll find a way to run and pick up the first down. And that had to be the most frustrating thing for fans watching the game, is the week after you saw Matt Corral do what he did, you saw Bryce Young do it to you again. And if you had that running quarterback, you can find a way against Tennessee's defense.
All right, some 50-50 guys, iffy guys played last night. Some didn't. Did UT get it right by playing those guys? Was it worth the risk when you look at the final score? Next, we'll talk about that, but we'll also talk about the fact that with Cade Mays out, that run game, you can look at the numbers. It's not as good without him in there. We'll show those numbers. Are they to be believed, or are they a little misleading? We'll talk run game without Cade Mays. We'll talk about was it worth it to play some of the banged-up guys. We got a lot more to come in the show, which is going to be an interesting show. 52-24, 28-point loss. We're not exactly known as the Sunshine Group. but I don't think this is going to be a funeral today. We haven't prepared the dirges. So it should be an interesting 90 minutes here on the Sports Source, or 80 minutes that we have left. Come on back on the other side of this break.